It should be going. Yes, it's going because we're just sitting here and I see it.
Yes, we are. We good? I
12
was waiting on
seconds.
you
Yeah, I'm
finish
just
your
checking
stuff
this out and seeing what's going on.
because I know we got to get it right because we're in the
Yeah,
having
but
the Stephen
hold on.
Gray experience.
Hold on. You can look at it and see.
Okay, I think we're good.
Looks good.
Let's
The
make
color.
this happen.
Yeah, the color looks rich.
Okay.
So,
All right. So, hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today for Ask Linda the Fundamentals of. I'm Linda Pritchard, and my organization is Fundamentals by Linda Pritchard. I'm your go to source for all things etiquette, style, and workplace readiness. I am very excited today because I have a fantastic guest with me, Stephen Gray, Regal Sports Presents, and we're going to talk about the fundamentals of event etiquette. So, Mr. Gray, thank you for joining me. Could you please tell our viewers a little bit about yourself and your organization?
thank you for having me. I'm Regal Sports Presents. I do event planning throughout the Midwest and here in St. Louis, and we'll be glad to see you at some of my events sometime.
Okay, very succinct. Appreciate that. Thank you. So, we're going to talk about the do's, the don'ts, the shoulds, the shouldn'ts, and don't you even dare of events, event etiquette. So, let's go ahead and jump right into it. So, the first thing I'm going to ask you about, and then I'm going to jump into, is my question of the week, which I post every Friday. And the question was, do you think you should have permission or ask permission to bring extra guests if you're invited to an event?
Unless the invitation extends that offer to you to bring a guest, it's just you.
Okay. So I think we're in total agreement with that.
Right.
Yeah. So definitely, if you're not included a plus one, do not bring extra guests, and definitely do not RSVP and write people in. That's just rude, and it messes with people's counts and the money. So we want to make sure that if you're the only person invited, you're the only person that goes.
Correct.
All right, so let's jump right in. So I wanted to talk about some etiquette rules to ensure you're not that guest. And by that, I mean the bad guest. So
Okay.
the first one is, okay, let's be clear about start time. So what do you feel about start time when it comes to event etiquette?
Well, you can lay out the best plans for an event, and I mean it could be a event for 50 people or an event for 500. And there's always going to be things that happen that delay the start or push it back a little bit. So you just got to prepare for that and be ready for that to happen because it happens often.
Okay. I also think it's important, though, as a guest, if you're invited to a private event, especially, that you're timely and you mentioned, communicate if there's going to be any kind of issue with time or whatever, but you don't always have control over being timely when it comes to events.
Well, with traffic and the various things that it takes to get to an event, I might be coming to meet you and I might pull over and text you, hey, I'm looking at my watch. It looks like traffic is going to be backed up for a minute, so I may be an extra 15 minutes. I just think that's what you should do when
Right.
everybody's time is valuable and people want to know and they're going to serve dinner. Are they going to push the show back or whatever to
Right.
accommodate people? I went to Diana Ross the other night and the show was pushed back because a lot of seats were empty because people couldn't get in the building.
Oh, okay. And you don't want to miss Diana, so of course you're going to move it back.
Right.
Okay, so I think we're in agreement. You want to be timely, but you have to also keep in mind that sometimes there are things that are not in your control.
That's right, and you have to make adjustments.
Okay, definitely. All right, so second, if possible, I always think it's a good idea to advise guests on dress code. What do you feel about dress code or how to dress for event etiquette?
Well, if there's a theme for the event of 70s, they're going to know. But other than that, you probably need to tell them because in today's society, some people don't understand going to a funeral. We always dressed up, and you probably still should. So they'll put anything on, and they'll do the same when it comes to coming to your event. That's just how they feel. And if you want, a more formal attire, you probably better address that in the invite.
I think that's a good idea too. I think you should always respect what the event planner or what the giver of the event is expecting in terms of the event vibe, and
Right.
then try to adjust accordingly. RSVPs. Your thoughts on RSVPs when it comes to events?
Well, most people do those, and especially nowadays, and especially on the web, a lot of people will RSVP and not show up, and then you have those that show up and have extra people with them. So, I mean, Six one way, half dozen another. You don't know what to expect ever, and regardless of what you tell them or insinuate in the invitation, most people don't adhere to it anyway.
Okay, my rule of thumb is, and this is for everybody listening, honor and respect the RSVP. Be accountable. If you RSVP that you're going to come, try to come. Even if you can't stay for the full event, respect the event and go to the event. Don't RSVP and not show up.
Right.
On the flip side, don't not R I mean not did I say that right? Don't not RSVP
And show up.
and then show up anyway.
That's
and
right.
especially with extra people.
Right.
You just never want to do that. That's rude. That's very thoughtless, and you don't want to do that. So, lastly, social media and cell phones. When it comes to event etiquette, what do you think about social media posts and cell phone usage?
Hard to control. People ask that people don't film their events most often. I mean, I do this on my events, but I still look up and
Right.
they're
Everything's
there.
out there.
So, I mean, there's nothing you can do. And with the technology the way it is today, how can you stop it? Because they're not holding a cell phone or a tablet doesn't mean they're not filming anyway.
True. Well, my thought is you do want to honor social media requests.
Yes, you
You
do.
want to honor cell phone requests. I'm thinking maybe in terms of a private event or a wedding, for example. Typically, a photographer has been hired, so you don't want to have your phone up in the way of the photographer. And you definitely don't want to post someone's private event before they have an opportunity to post it themselves.
I agree, but again, these people at the events, a lot of them, what's the word they use for clout? They want to show people they're the former event.
Okay.
So they're going to take those pictures and they're going to go live because they then got dressed up and they come to an event.
Okay.
That's just the nature of what's going on today.
That's true. Okay. So I think we're in agreement, though. If you go to someone's event, try to honor their social media requests,
Exactly.
unless they ask you to post, in which case, post away. But definitely your cell phone usage. I went to a movie not too long ago, and a person's phone rang not once but 3 times,
Okay.
loudly.
Okay.
They answered the phone and proceeded to have a conversation.
Okay. That's normal today.
That's not normal. It should never be acceptable. And don't do that. Do not answer your
Right.
phone. Have a conversation. The little guy on the screen tells you at the beginning,
That's right.
silence
Mr.
your
Marcus
phone.
does.
So you don't want to use your phone. My thought is always honor social media and cell phone rules.
I agree, but I'm just talking in today's world. We know what happens. We see this all the time. They tell you, like you said at the beginning of the movie, turn your phone off.
Right.
But there's always somebody that,
Chooses not to do that.
right, and then they get the call and then they want to carry on the conversation
Okay.
instead of getting up, taking their butt out. That's all I'm saying. But I agree you should honor it. My question is, why don't they also?
Okay. So we're going to just say we agree, Mr. Gray, myself, that you should honor our cell phone and social media rules. Okay?
They're going to like me because I said they won't obey. You tell them what they should do.
Okay, so moving on. As we wrap up, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate your time and your tips
You're welcome.
and playing devil's advocate to what we should or should not do.
Right.
I really appreciate that. For those of you watching, be on the lookout for upcoming events. Sponsored by Regal Sports Presents. Would you like to share anything that's coming up?
Not
or
really. You
reiterate?
handled it, and I appreciate you taking the time to give me the time to get on here with you. We have to
Okay,
do this
great.
again.
Okay, wonderful. So again, thank you, Stephen, for joining me. Thank you all for joining me too. Remember, I'm Linda Pritchard. I'm your go-to source for all things etiquette, style, and workplace readiness. My organization is Fundamentals by Linda Pritchard, and I hope you join me for the next Ask Linda the Fundamentals of. Have a great evening, and remember, please and thank you are always in style.
Take care.